awards to everybody. I want to thank you all for being here with us to celebrate our warrior, Oliver. It seems surreal to me that he's 22. Many of you have been along with us on the ride since the beginning, but some of you we've met along the way, and a few have only come to know Oliver in the past few years. So let me just take a moment to give his backstory so that everyone can have a true appreciation for why we call Oliver a warrior. After losing Melanie, we had a strong desire to have another child. But I was older, Melanie had passed from a genetic disease, Katie was an energetic, precocious toddler, and there was a lot of thought and love that we put into our decision to have another. The arrival of our rainbow baby was greatly anticipated. Oliver had some funky issues as a newborn, but at the time, we had no idea that anything at all was wrong. He was a finicky little guy. He fussed a lot. He couldn't sleep. He hated being wet. My sister nicknamed him Felix because he was so finicky. Those first couple of months, there were moments where I thought I was losing my mind from sleep deprivation. I now know that that was only practice for what I live with every day. But all that fussiness worked itself out early because when it stopped, he started smiling and he rarely ever fussed again. I used to say that Melanie was the sweetest thing, that she was happy all the time also. But Melanie had a bit of that girl attitude thing going on. She could be a little bitchy. She was feisty, but not Oliver. The only crying that this kid ever did was back when he could still feel stomach pain or from seizures. He is never fussy, never complains, never an attitude. If he doesn't want something or he doesn't want to do something, he'll toss it away or he'll pretend he's asleep, right? He's very good at that. But that's the extent of his discontent. You all know what a fighter Oliver is. He doesn't know from giving up. He has always found a way. This extraordinary boy of mine has had obstacles that you couldn't even begin to comprehend, yet he overcame them. He has survived medical emergencies, more than I can count or want to count, truly defying odds that were so against him. He has scared the living crap out of me and probably his nurses, and I'm even betting some of his doctors, too many times, giving us all our fair share of gray hair. He liked to always keep things interesting too, coming up with unusual presentations of things or having unique manifestations of medical issues. He's never boring. And he's always good for the reminder that you can never relax or let your guard down, because that's exactly when he's going to have a reoccurrence of something that we haven't seen for a while. He's still pretty good at that, unfortunately, so I try to stay vigilant. Oliver is a lot of work, I'm not going to lie, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels like just a privilege to be entrusted with his care, for the reward is Oliver. Oliver is pure love, pure tranquility, and pure acceptance. His world may seem small to some, but really it's huge. Everyone is welcome in Oliver's world. For those who ever took the time and effort to engage Oliver, you've been rewarded with knowing exactly what I mean. Katie has said that Oliver is exactly who he's supposed to be, and she's completely right. Katie is the sun and the moon and the stars to Oliver. Although Oliver loves everyone, the love he has for his big sister is beyond compare. She's responsible for so many of Oliver's milestones, including learning to say shit and asshole. Their secrets that they share, always with Katie whispering in his ear, with Oliver leaning in with a huge smile on his face, always produced a laugh. Years later, I asked her, what were you saying to him to make him smile and laugh? And she'd say, I would curse. She's the typical big sister too. She'd prompt him to answer yes when she'd say, are you ugly? She would do things to annoy him, like sticking her finger in his mouth to interrupt a yawn. You know how annoying that is? She even made an album out of assorted pictures of Oliver's famous yawns, which you'll see in the video. Oliver has pretty memorable yawns because you can pretty much see into his stomach when he yawns. But the bond that they have is truly one of the best blessings of our life. Oliver's had a rough few years. The pandemic and lack of therapies and socialization were not kind to him, like so many others. This past year in particular, he has had many medical challenges and we've struggled. He's slowing down. He has a hard time walking and he needs full support. He's quieter for sure. It's harder and harder to get those joyful smiles and laughs, but we never give up. And that's because Oliver never gives up. I honestly can't even imagine what the millions of seizures has done to his brain, and I don't want to, because my boy is still there, never ever complaining, still finds total satisfaction in just chilling with his Ellie making clicks, still enjoys making fart sounds with his fart keychain, still puts a leg up. Even though it's much harder for him to do it, he'll get that leg up for a high 5'5". Oliver Budmiller, you are our greatest miracle, and we couldn't be happier to be celebrating 22 years of you. Woo.